possibly the touring car variant from Gran Turismo. I think, at least it looks like that anyway. And that's the other variant that we have. We see one of them here, which has Justin Kirk at the wheel. We actually have Justin to thank in the main part for this series, because it was his conception, along with some others, that wanted to just blow off some steam and get this series underway and give themselves something to do whilst they're waiting for the real world season to get back underway. Because motorsport's starting to wake up as now we get into a new year, 2026. We've had the whole festive period. Now we're getting back to the grind of being ready to go racing once more. In order to be ready, you've got to be as prepared as possible. The series, while it is a bit of fun, it is also a bit of competition to keep the drivers in check. It's a 5-race series, a 5-round series, starting tonight here at Snetterton. They'll run for the next 5 weeks, including this one. And then we'll also be heading to the Silverstone National Circuit, Donington Park's National Circuit, Croft and Thruxton. All high-speed circuits, all with their own challenges, and all set to produce some exciting racing nonetheless across the board. What's happening here, we're having a 15-minute practice session just to set some times. Once the times are in, as fastest will take pole position. 2 15-minute races run. The grid is set by the results from this 15 minutes in practice. And then race 2 is the race 1 finishing order, but with the top 8 reversed. So if you finish 8th, quite simply, you will take pole position for race 2, and vice versa. If you win race 1, you will start back on row 4. Very simple process. So in terms of drivers to watch out for this season, is looking at the entry list, as I mentioned in the quick little preview reel that I put together and put out on social media just now. Really is, in some cases, a bit of a who's who of racing Hondas. As we said, this championship is, eSports Series is heavily inspired by racing Hondas. If you look at the entry list, there are quite a few regular racing Hondas drivers in the field. In fact, we've got one that's currently as high as second fastest, which is Ryan Cunningham, which is 2024 champion. He was champion in what was then Class C, moved up to Class B last year, and spent a season-long battle with the eventual class and overall champion Dan Thackeray. So Ryan has decided he wants to give the eSports Series a go and keep himself sharp ahead of what should be a return to the championship in 2026. Fastest in the session so far, though, is in fact Jacob Gannon. Jacob, who's a young 18-year-old who doing some track days and getting himself sharp to one day, I'm certain, get into racing himself in all fitting cars, a Civic EP3. So good to see he is here and ready and setting the pace. He's fastest by just over half a second in this part of the session. You're not hanging around, is Jacob. Third fastest is Matthew Peverell, another one of our younger drivers in the field. So we've got some young guns in this eSports Series. Right on board with the man who's fastest in the session, Gannon. He's come out of the left-hander at Putt Palmer's and let down the hairpin at Agostini. Turns his way and keeps it nice and tight and tidy on the exit. Fourth fastest is Bob Barron, who's in the pits, and he has time to put him on the second row of the grid. Bob, who is a double race winner from last year. Last year was his first season racing in motorsport full stop. He'd been doing track days, but preparing for a Racing Hondas campaign in 2025. Made quite an impression on his debut in the championship. You see Ryan Cunningham hopping the curbs at the left-hander at Hamilton before the opening double apex right-hander of Oggies that takes him towards Williams, and then the Bentley straight, where these cars really get one of a couple of chances to stretch their legs. You let the VTEC kick in, shall we say. Bob is an established race winner now in the championship, looking to come back this year and do more. He did develop as a driver last year. Some of the performances he put in, you wouldn't have thought it was his first season of racing full stop. He managed to make the most of it, and it should be a front-running contender in 2026. Still looking at Ryan Cunningham, who is the third fastest. Justin Kirk, meanwhile, whilst we've been looking at that, has gone fast ahead of him into second quickest. He's now put the highest of the EKs on the front row of the grid. He's only fractions faster than Ryan Cunningham. It was enough, at least, to put him into second quickest. Riding on board with Justin. He comes out of Williams, out down the long Bentley straight, up through the gears. 110, keeping the revs high, 8,500, up towards 9,000 RPM, 120. Almost grabs sixth, but holds it in fifth gears, and then down through the box. Fifth, third, flicks it right. Big hop of the curb on the inside of Nelson. Might just grab fourth before he gets to the bomb hole. And then up towards the long, almost never-ending, arcing right-hander of Coram. It's a real challenge when you're doing it solo. When you're trying to pass somebody here, it's nigh on impossible. But keeping the power on. And Justin trying to find a bit more time. He hasn't gone any better in sectors 1 and 2 on this lap. We'll carry on to the line regardless. There's only 5.5 minutes or so left to go. Run through how the running order looks like at the moment. Gannon quickest, Kirk second. There were 3 Kirks in the field. There's Justin, Max and Lewis. Matthew Peverell is 4th behind Ryan Cunningham. Bob Barron is 5th. Ryan Barker is the other side of the Barker Racing family within the Time Attack and Racing Honda's paddock. As we look at Peverell, he set a personal best sector 2. Just the line. And he can improve a 2 minutes 3.961. The answer is not quite. So he stays 4th. Barron 5th. Ryan Barker 6th. Now, Ryan and Lewis do compete in the same, I look at the same events, but Ryan Barker is more a time attack racer and also does a little bit of 750 hot patch racing as well. Whereas Lewis is more exclusively racing Hondas. Their own little bits of silverware and success in certain rounds, but good to see that Ryan at the moment is performing well. And actually outperforming Lewis. If you look at his pace, at the moment Lewis hasn't really set a proper time yet. Still down in 14th place. Max Kirk is 7th, so the second of the Kirk family is quickest in there. Dave Buki, many will know from racing Hondas, and not just Hondas, but raced in the Civic Cup as well. And also on top of that, he has raced in RD1 Cup Racing Championship as well. Now running his Athletic Motorsport squad, he not only runs EP3 Civics in the championship, likes of Sammy Milam and others, also he runs his own EK Civic in Class A and ended the season last year here at Snetterton quite aptly with a 3rd place finish to round off the season. Been a bit of up and down for him, but that car been getting stronger and stronger. He'd been working on the internals, working on the engine, working on taking the weight out of that car. And whilst he's running an EG in this series, he is quite proud of his EK and running well. Justin Kirk is going personal best in sectors 1 and 2, so he is going quicker than he has done before. Can keep this time up, he should be good. He's half a second off the pole time. 2 minutes 3.1. He's on a 2 minutes 3.7. Hugs the pit wall towards the start and finish line and improves it only by roughly about half a tenth. So 2 minutes 3.6 now. Still some 4.5 off. Ultimate time set by Jacob Gadden. If it stays as it is, we will have one of each of the 2 cars that everyone has plumped for on the front row together. So an EG on pole at the moment from an EK Civic. Did have 2 other cars available for people, which were running in a different class, that being a Honda Civic EP3 Type R and the Honda S2000 to mimic the new S2000 Cup class that's coming in for 2026. The car debuted last year at Alton Park in its competition debut in the championship as a guest. It was running the performance to be able to slot into Class B and was driven by Ryan Sedjakowski, the main man of Tegua. Some good feedback. Got a top 5 finish, if I remember correctly, in the class. And looking forward to see how many drivers take up new class, this new car. It looks the business. It should be quite exciting to watch. There's a rear-wheel drive option amongst the Sia front-wheel drive tech-powered machines. With Dave Buki, head down towards Richie's corner. Keeps it in 5th, throws it in 100 miles an hour at the apex, really sticking fast. He turns out of Richie's up towards the Wilson hairpin. It used to be called Montreal because it's very similar to the 180-degree turn the Circuit de Villeneuve, but renamed after the fortunate and untimely passing of Justin Wilson. And he was Jonathan Palmer, Dr. Jonathan Palmer, who's the man behind Motorsport Vision, was quite close to and quite fond of. We'll have to wait and see. Now this is Lewis Barker. He's in the red EG Civic. Across the line he goes. And he has improved in sector 2. And his lap hasn't set a proper lap yet, so I think he's on for a flyer now. He's got time to do it. He might be a bit touch and go because he's got a minute and a half to go until the session ends. And lap times are in the low 2:02 minutes. So this could be cutting it fine, because if I'm right, I know what a Snetterton course is like. It can simply just not let you finish a lap. It'll kind of cut you off. So we'll have to see whoever's on a lap right now if they can get round quick enough to finish it. They'll be allowed to finish it. Bob Barron. Car that looks very, very similar to his real-world machine. Anything that it doesn't have is the rear wing, but before it had the rear wing, this is pretty much what it looked like, including the black bonnet on top of it as well. The only thing it didn't have was the black or carbon fibre doors, which, interestingly enough, it very closely mimics his car. And fourth fastest for the person of their second sector on 2 minutes 3.7. So on the second row of the grid, alongside Ryan Cunningham. Current top 10, Jacob Gannon fastest on pole. Austin Kirk in second. Ryan Cunningham third fastest. Bob Barron fourth. As Gannon, I think, only fractionally improves the time. Because there has been a purple time that's popped up at the top of the screen. And that's Jacob Gannon on a 2 minute 3.108. So he's retained pole position, gone faster, but only by a few hundredths of a second rather than any large margin. He won't have improved too much. His pace is consistent, and he can be up there at a very solid pace, which should put him in good stead for race 1 coming up very, very shortly. They are running overtime, so anyone that's on a lap should be able to finish it. That includes Reece Welsh, I think is a new addition to the championship for this weekend. I think there was one more spot left for the sign-up, and he was lucky enough to get in quickly to take it. So if that is him, he joins the series quite quickly. So we've got 16 drivers out of the 24 that are signed up here the race this evening. So 8 rows of Hondas ready to go. Once the session is done and we get to the checkered flag and everyone's completed their laps, we'll be able to see who is sitting where for the start of this first race of this new ONNA Motorsport Honda Winter Esports Series. There's Fraser McNeil. Now, anyone who knows the championship, particularly racing Hondas, the real world, will almost certainly recognise this is definitively Fraser's car because it is exactly the same colour you would find it in real life. His EG Civic is that bright yellow. I think it's almost a factory yellow or a Honda yellow colour. And pasting pretty much exactly the same here for this stock colour, this version of the Civic EG. And his best time, his last effort, doesn't get him any quicker than a 2 minutes 6.5, and that puts him currently on row 7, alongside Dan Peverell. So we're getting into last couple of the drivers to finish their laps, and then once they're complete we can take you through who should be starting where once the session starts to switch over. You should do in a moment, but we'll try and run through who is where before it does. To enter the session, Les Lewis Barker dramatically does shift his position because he's actually ahead of Ryan now, so one of his efforts got in. He did get a proper lap in, and the proper lap has got him into on the third row of the grid ahead of his siblings. That should be interesting. So, the grid then, forming up for race number 1. 15 minutes of racing, couple of minutes, so we can quickly scroll through it. You're just about to be able to see it. I don't know if we can zoom in on that at all or not. But Jacob Gannon took fastest time, so he did a 2 minutes 3.108. His last effort late in the session. Confirmed that by a few hundredths of a second. Jacob Gannon is fastest from Justin in second quickest. Ryan Cunningham is third. Bob Barron is fourth. Matthew Peverell is in fifth quickest. And then Lewis Barker, one of his later efforts in the session, brings his car into sixth fastest and crucially ahead of Ryan Barker. So the two Barkers in that family inter-family battle, currently it's 1-0 for qualifying to Lewis's favour. Max Kirk is 8th fastest from Dave Buki in 9th, and then 10th quickest is Sam Goward. To mention Sam Goward, he is due to be racing in Racing Hondas this year in an EF generation Civics. That will certainly make it even older than the EGs. And from what I've seen some of the social media pictures, it is looking the business. So keep up with the good work on that one, Sam. We then have Dale Summers, 11th fastest, from Lewis Kirk in 12th. Dan Peverell, 13th. And Fraser McNeil from Kilted K-Swaps. Jake Hewlett, 15th quickest, and Reece Walsh is the last of our starters. And there's a couple of drivers down there who either didn't get a proper time in or are not here even though they should have been on the server. But we have our field, 16 on the drivers ready to go. The countdown is moving forwards. And we should see session once that's timed out and moved on to the race. We will be able to check out how this race is about to get underway. So, right, so in actual fact, I think we've had a practice session. I believe this is now qualifying. For the session, so to do a quick correction, in terms of just a bit of cross language, I think. So the so the qualifying session we've got here is going to set the grid. That was the practice session to get everything sorted and everyone getting laps in. So the fastest in that session was the time set by Jacob Gannon. This is now the session where it really counts. So forgive me for any confusion on that side. This session here is what we'll start to see drivers really shit what we've got. So Barker's have got some decent enough pace. Gannon looks like he's in a good place. So too there's the likes of Ryan Barker and Dave Buki. This is kind of what drivers don't want, which is Buki trying to pick his way through traffic. He's out that. Thankfully, he's catching it now, rather than anything which might hinder his lap coming up now, later in the laps. He's got some space out there. And flying laps begin. So this session, forgive me, after a couple of crossed wires, this session, naturally being qualifying, will set the grid for race number 1. I'll correct that and move on. Gannon looking to try and mimic the form that he had in session just now. It's way down towards Ortiz. As we said, Jacob Gannon, who has been doing a little bit of track day running in a Civic EP3, so he's no stranger to anything K20 powered. As he makes the way towards Nelson, he has got a fair amount of pace about him. And he has just behind him Hewlett. Jake has been former Racing Honda's racer, but he is around the paddock helping out the Europa Racing team. So when both Lewis and I do so, I think I'm pretty even certain that one of the cars, the Civics, that Ryan and Lewis runs, respectively Time Attack and all Racing Hondas, is Jake Hewlett's old car. It's the car that Jake used to run in the championship, but is now being run by one of them in their respective series. Jake, the first initial effort has seen him put in a 2 minutes 2.429, so a strong lap laid down the initial benchmark from Jake, following Jacob Gannon as he does it. So Jacob hasn't actually set a proper lap time in there yet. Whereas he's about to now, and I think any thoughts of possibly trying to improve this lap have kind of gone out the window slightly, because Jake finds himself fully in Jacob's wheel tracks going through Palmer. And now the sprint towards Agassini hairpin. Prime passing spot, which Hewlett gets a little bit of early practice on track. And interestingly enough, he's now sitting in front of Jacob Gannon, and Jacob's first kind of initial effort that he put in as a first benchmark was 2 minutes 16.2. And that, I would imagine, is more of an outlap for him to understand what's going on with the car, how it feels at the beginning of the session, and to work from there. Matthew Peverell has gone to third quickest. If he stays where he is for the next just under 9.5 minutes, he should be starting on the second row of the grid. But we know it's not as simple as that. It will be a lot more complex, a lot more competitive. Laps him. So heading towards half distance in the session. There are a couple of drivers that haven't set a proper time yet. They're starting to venture out and put some initial groundwork in. Reece Walsh, who's our latest sign-up to the championship, and Dan Peverell, of which his family member Matthew is currently fourth fastest. As we kind of expected, more faster times coming in. Now, Jacob Gannon put in a lap, but it's a 2 minutes 4.192, and I expected that to be quicker. Not sure if him tailing Jake Hewlett had anything to do with it, truthfully, but the state of affairs at the top of the times. Jake Hewlett fastest, Ryan Cunningham second quickest. He's got up to third now, and Bob Barron's a fourth, so more strong lap times coming in. Very evenly matched as well. If I look at it, or as I look at it, only a tenth and a bit between Buki and Barron on the second row of the grid. And in terms of front row, that is only separated by almost an exact tenth. The Hewlett fastest, Liam second quickest, Buki third, and fourth, and then Justin Kirk in fifth quickest ahead of Jacob Gannon. Rest of the top 10 filled by Matthew Peverell, Max Kirk, Sam Goward, and Dale Summers. Who's a little bit unknown, but is certainly hoping to make his mark on the series this season. And Bob Barron make his way down the Bentley Straight. And there's 7 minutes to go. On board with Bob. Grabbed fourth gear, and then third, and then second just before the apex. Maybe not. Maybe he was in fifth or sixth gear, but either way, he was in fourth gear when he changed down there going through the bomb hole. It's through left-hand McMurray's after conquering the never-ending arc that is Coram. And the pit straight comes Barron, who has dropped down to sixth because Adam's got up to second quickest, and Dave Buki's gone up to fifth, Justin Kirk up to fourth. A few changes. In the top six, looking at Justin Kirk, he is the only EK Civic in the top six. Pushing hard, and Max is not that far behind in 10th fastest. Now Summers also goes to now, but there's been a couple of changes because a couple of drivers do improve. Matthew Peverell has that's either or Lewis Barker has. Aaron Lewis Barker I think it's Lewis Barker. He's on a 2 minutes 4.361, and that was a personal best. So he's moved up to seventh. Peverell 8th, Barker 9th, and Goward rounding out the top 10. Ahead of Summers, Lewis Kirk, Max Kirk, Fraser McNeil, Reece Walsh, and Anne Peverell. Much a family affair in this court series. You have the Kirks. They also have the Barkers, which is Ryan and Lewis Barker, and also the Peverells as well in there too. It's a really cool difference of families that are being represented and racing on the same grid together, which is, I have to say, you genuinely don't often see that many sibling partnerships around anymore. It tends to be more with a mind with a bigger or greater vision in mind rather than the other person. But 4.5 minutes to go in the session. Looking back at Lewis Barker, who makes his way down the Bentley Straight. One more time. He lost the traction, therefore. That was that I think it was. It's one of the red Civics. Lost the rear end. Everyone knows all about that. It's Bob Barron who's lost the rear end more than the times he'd care to remember in the real world in his EG Civic. And almost doing that was Ryan Barker. He makes the sprint. Over the line he goes. And does it improve his time at all? No. He is currently on a green. 2 green sectors for Barker and Peverell on this lap. And Barron is in the pit lane having on his last lap, done a personal best in 7:1, so he's getting quicker. The car will start to feel quicker to him. And how much the driver will feel in terms of being more quicker. 3/4 minutes still to go in the session. Still Hewlett fastest, from Gannon in second. Running in third. Justin Kirk is fourth. Ibuki fifth. Bob Barron sixth. And Chris Barker, Matthew Peverite. Last few moments of the session coming up. About 2 3/4 minutes to go. 9th fastest for Barker, 10th fastest for Goward. Board with Gannon coming across the line. Now, Jake Hewlett has just done fastest third sector of anybody and improved his time quite substantially. He's done 2 minutes 2.322. That is basically, that makes a difference. It is a full second in front of the rest of the field at least. So it's quite staggering that from Jake Hewlett to pull that one out of the bag. To not only remain fastest, but now put the pole time a fraction over a second, a full entire second out of reach of anyone else in this session that's going to try and do something about that. Unless the track or the car or the combination somehow fits more tightly, like a glove, then more believable it might be that the bodywork will bring everything that's desired. And a half to go in the session. Ready team, ready pace that they have. No matter how it might be, they're going to carry on regardless. It's just finding more time. And Hewlett's gone faster still. Whilst that was happening, Dan Peverell has also done a fastest final sector of anybody else as well. Hewlett's the one we probably to look at on a lap. Justin Kirk, for the record, is doing personal best in sectors 1 and 2. Matthew Peverite's done a better time to go 7th fastest. He was on personal best in sectors 1 and 3. Say, Dan Peverell is now also, according to 14th place, in 15th. He is now at the point where pace is looking strong. He's in the pits, in fact. He's decided not to risk it any more and bought the lap, despite the better time. prospect. Hewlett, it looks like, I think, is possibly backed off. He didn't set a better time in sector 2. Just a neutral time in general, and just shows his consistency. Whether there was something nagging in the background. Through the long right-hander of the bomb hole, where it just compresses right down at the base of the corner. Time will tick down any second now. 3, 2, 1, and 0. And that's Sam Goward coming together with Fraser McNeil through Forum. Skullduggery at play, I think, in terms of games. The checker flag is out on the qualifying session. Means that unless somebody can magically produce somewhere, one, a little more time to talk session, but also two, situation where at the very least the potential was there, but they weren't able to fully unleash it at that point. Here's Matthew Peverite. Slide he comes. And will end the session still in 7th. He improved his time. A faster final sector. Matthew wasn't able to have enough to be able to overhaul that and get that much more closer than he could. So even though he's remotely starting, or he's starting 3rd on the grid, if he is sharing his platter space, but we'll wait and see. So with the qualifying session coming to a close, it gives us a clearer idea of what to expect in the race. Just Jacob Gannon looks like, also I noticed on his timings, on the timing screen I can see, but he and a couple of others have improved their times to get closer. Only a fraction. Also to Jake Hewlett. Because Jacob Gannon took 2nd fastest late in the session. On a 2 minutes 3.2. Also on a 2:03.2 is Justin Kirk. And Ryan Cunningham, 4th fastest, ahead of Bob Barrett. Certainly all going on. Just looking at the grid then for race number 1 coming up for the ONNA Motorsport Honda into Esports Series. And it is going to be Jake Hewlett after a quite staggering lap time. He won pole by about 8/10, 9/10 of a second. Jacob Gannon 2nd fastest. Then it's Justin Kirk in 3rd. Ryan Cunningham 4th and Bob Barron completing the top 5. By Dave Bucke, Matthew Peverell, and Ryan Barker, Lewis Barker. So despite the initial battling practice, qualifying duel between the Barkers has so far been resolved in Ryan's favour for this round. And then Max Kirk will start in P10. As you scroll through to the rest of the qualifying order from 11th downwards, you'll be able to see the 6th row of the grid. Waiting for the switch over to the 2nd page so I can take a look at positions 11 to 20. That's moment is the focus to have in terms of, and everyone's there. Well, there's a few drivers that might not be expected to be up there so high, maybe either because of personal lack of knowledge or whether they've been practicing for this. The session is done so, and there is 11th place downwards. So that's Sam Goward 11th fastest, Dale Summers 12th, Lewis Kirk, Fraser McNeil, Dan Peverell, and Reese Welsh rounding out the 16 qualifiers for the first of tonight's 2 races. Cars are starting to load and form up onto the grid. There's about 90 seconds until the race gets underway. And now is the moment that pretty much, for me, but for everyone else, all the talking stops. This is where now your best foot forward and see what you've really got in terms of pace and what you really are ready for and what you're made of. With Jake Hewlett's pole time being so dominant, where he'll end up in the end, whether he'll start to streak away from his result, or whether he'll be able to maintain that or have more pressure behind in race form rather than qualifying form. We're about to have that and so many more questions answered very, very shortly, because the race is roughly around about 15 seconds away. Anyone who's a Racing Honda's fan knows the drill. It is all calm and quiet until the VTEC kicks in, and it will do for the first time in 2026 in a few moments' time. Stand by for action. The red lights are on, and race one of round one, the ONNA Motorsport Honda Winter Esports Series, is green and go. Clear start from the front row. The drag race down towards Ritchie's for the first time. It's side by side between the two front row men. Jake Hewlett in red, Jacob Gannon in blue. Justin Kirk's EK Civic is third, but he gets a tap in the tail mid-corner from Ryan Cunningham as we ride on board with Justin Kirk. He gets the perfect view, whilst also focusing to his inside, covers off the line as the two EG Civics in front tap doors on the apex of Wilson. Now the sprint towards Palmer, up through the gears, from third to fourth, 90 miles an hour. And this is the clear view that Jake Hewlett has staring out of his windscreen. Out of Palmer, now the sprint towards one of the big braking stops, Agostini, for the first time. This is one of the prime overtaking spots, as is also Wilson. And thought for a second Hewlett was going to be too deep into the corner, but he able to anchor it round quick enough and holds on to the place as we come towards the end, the halfway point, lap one of this first race of the season. Into Oggies. Hewlett, Gannon, Kirk from Ryan Cunningham. Buki fifth. It's Barker sixth. It's then Bob Barron seventh. Oh, Summers is up to 8th. He's made up... that's a bit of a glitch in the system, I think. It says he's made up 12 places, but how he can make up 12 places when he's started 9th at the moment? He needs to be more than 18 cars, which there wasn't. On the back straight towards Nelson again. And now that initial scrap has calmed down, looks as though it is advantage Jake Hewlett. Got one car in the pit lane, which is Reese Welsh. Reese Welsh, I'll correct myself. What the issue is there, I'm not 100%. Murray as they come into the second lap. And Hewlett trying to spread eagle the field here as Gannon holds on to second place. Burke's third. Ryan Cunningham fourth. It's Buki and Barker who are battling away with each other. Summers, Goward, Max Kirk and Fraser McNeil. We continue to watch Gannon. Neat little braking duel into the 180-degree hairpin. They sprint back out the other side. Still with Gannon in tow behind Hewlett. In Fraser McNeil, he's made some very steady progress. Maybe his pace is more geared to race pace and keeping it clean rather than pushing and qualifying and going all out attack. He started 14th, now up to 8th. The next target is Max Kirk, I should correct myself. And out of Hamilton into, oh, you can see how much steering he's using just to wrangle the car through the corners here at Snetterton. Just exiting. Be tough, but we'll come back to that in a second. We've got a three-way fight going on here between Buki, Kirk, and Dan Peverell. We've got almost three abreast down the back straight at one stage. It looks to me they sorted themselves out as Buki continues the pursuit of McNeil. Kirk is in there too. Now, the 3 cars that were battling behind was, in fact, Buki, Kirk, and Peverell. Just behind them is Lewis Barker in the white EG Civic in 13th place, followed by Barron and Barker and Worth. Bob Barron was quite high up, but we didn't see exactly what happened to him. We were focusing on other stuff at that point to fully see what was going on. Running wide is Lewis Barker, using all the curb and a tiny bit more. It's not the real MSV circuit, because if you run over a set number of points, including that last corner over the curb, there are pressure points that are working through it. Now, whilst that's happening, now cuts the fact that Justin Kirk is struggling. Back in 12th position, he's just dropped outside the top 10. Lewis Kirk has gone through, and so has Dan Peverell, who we're on board with now. Peverell goes searching around the outside, find room to take 10th, to improve on 10th into 9th. Instead, he's picking the car in a little twitch of oversteer that you don't often get in front-wheel drive cars, but if you just throw the car in a little too aggressively, it can sometimes cause a bit of a pendulum effect. The easiest thing when it comes to having a sliding front-wheel drive car, very simple solution. It doesn't have to be complicated or overly sophisticated. It's just quite simply boot the throttle, and the front end of the car will eventually come around. Coming around the outside there was Fraser McNeil, who just sold Ibuki a dummy outside at Williams corner. That doesn't usually happen when it comes to overtaking, because of course it'll give him inside for the next corner. Oggies, so there Ibuki was flashing him the goodbye, because he knows, at least for the moment, Fraser McNeil has the advantage. You can see visibly he is starting to edge quietly and steadily, ever so closer with each passing moment. You'll see Buki is just keeping Fraser McNeil his sights and potential on what to think about next. We're up towards half distance already in this first race. Just under 9 minutes to go. Whether they cross the line this time, next time after this one, it will be much closer in terms of past half distance. Speaking of close, this is Bob Barron in the slipstream. No, Sam Goward, in fact. Sam Goward, who's in the slipstream of Max Kirk. This is over the last top 5 spot. This is one of the proper EK versus EG battles here that you get. The up and under, Sam Goward has absolutely worked a treat. He's sold Kirk the dummy, quite literally. He's now into the top 5, but look at the lock he uses into the hairpin. That's very much 900 to 900 lock to lock, I think. Maybe not the most efficient way of doing so. Goward up into P5 into the 5 position. Typically, it is commanding this race from the front. It's not exactly pulling away by a second a lap, putting in that kind of performance when I was asked about it. It's the back straight. 7.5 minutes to go, getting past half distance in this first race. But knows he's got the pace to keep this one steady, forcing Gannon to run at his pace. At the back, it's Justin Kirk, who is trying to make his way back up through the order after his mishap earlier on. The first target in this sequence is Dan Peverell. Gets the slipstream, falls alongside. Before he's even hit the brakes remotely to turn to the corner, he is up another place and now into 9th spot. Now, 2 potentials are lurking here, helping get up to 7th. That provides he doesn't get too many challenges. You can see the car he's just passed in the rearview mirror. Just giving him a little bit of a headache. The corner. It's like these where you just want to pounce on the battle, but you know you're too close to work, close, you're too far away to actually make it happen. And in actual fact, that was Justin Kirk quickly picking up the place. No, he held on to the place because Dan Peverell, that was the view for Dan Peverell, who were riding on board with. I think he tried it, try and reclaim the move. The lifters quite simply buckled and thought, you sure about that? Big thump of the curb on the inside there from Fraser McNeil. Shows he's pushing. He's close to the 9th. And Peverels. Both the Peverels are getting up there, up and around each other where they can. 12th is Lewis Kirk. 13th is Bob Barron. No, 11th is Lewis Kirk. 12th is Bob Barron. Correct myself. And then it's 13th for Ryan Barker. 14th for Lewis Barker. And then Matthew Peverite. And Reece Welsh. The last ones in the mix. You're watching Dan Peverell. The purple Civic. Ibuki in him as well. Ibuki's 7th fastest. See here, they're recovering. Justin Kirk has come across Dave Buki. Now as they charge down the back straight. Really evenly matched in terms of straight line speed. It all depends on who can get the better exit, who gets the better toe, and carries the most momentum. Battle through Brundle Nelson. Races into its final third. We've gone past 10 minutes. And we're just coming up to 4.5 minutes to go in this first race of not just tonight, but also the season. Like the closing stage of the race, we seem to have calmed down a little bit. Now, one driver that's been moving up very steadily, I've just noticed on the timing screen, so is my producer in my ear, is the Dave Summers car. I'll be honest, I hadn't come across Dave before. He was a bit of an unknown quantity, but given the feedback he's had, people seem to be reacting to what he does and how he does it. Well, certainly enjoying himself, it seems. A little bit of no man's land. Not fully challenging anyone because there's no one around to do so, but doesn't have to defend anyone either. His own little segment of the race. As talked about defending, here's something might have to be done by Everell because Lewis Kirk is pressing hard as he dares. So this is Lewis Kirk battling with it might be Ryan Barker. He's battling with a Honda. That car is in 10th position currently, behind Fraser McNeil. A few minutes left to go. And will be Bob Barron. To try and crack back into the top 10. Now, he's also someone else who was quick in qualifying quick earlier on. But for some reason, there's also been told that when it comes by someone who the society is going to be there, and the contacts happened there between that was Barron and I think Lewis Barker, one of the two. It looks like it was Bob Barron, I think Lewis Kirk, because both of them are circulating together still. And Aaron is back in 12th position for his earlier mistake. In the lap times, we're going to get 2 more laps because the time has only just got ticking past 2 minutes. And I don't think that's been minutes in that sense, briefly. It's Fraser McNeil on half of the K-Swaps duo. A little twitch there. That was Peverell trying to push as hard as he dared, and was 3.5 tenths down at one point around the start of a lap. He has now stood tall as a strong driver in its own right. Through left-hander at Williams. First Henry Hamilton before Oggies. I should correct myself, my tired brain. I'm getting corner names wrong. What a huge pass to the curb there, intended by Dan Peverell, but either the car just wasn't handling right. That was supposed to be have as many elaborate sort of confusing statements to try and see if that's true or not. His tail is back in 13th position. Lewis Kirk against Bob Barron. Now, what again? He's sideways. He's done it once more. So, just as he did in real life, Bob Barron has gone sideways in the sim. One of the corners he would be most likely or expected to be getting sideways and having a problem. So, an easy pass then for Lewis Kirk to continue to push hard where he dares. Across the line will come the leaders. They have one more lap to go. On to, let's come on, they go. They're on the final lap of the race. Nick Hewlett, now, the pace advantage he now clearly has, is clearly showing, has quite genuinely shown the rest of the pack a clean pair of heels, because this time you can see on the top left, if you are seeing it, just there in terms of what the timer is, he is ahead by almost just under 6.5 seconds at this point in time. So in the minutes he's taken, the minutes they've taken to push further and fit that timing section. Fascinating. Stop talking nonsense and actually get onto the most important part, which is watching our race winner, his leader, not winning yet, to come and take the checkered flag. Back to the bomb hole. And with a couple of the corners of this race, so Jake Hewlett, who's been a front runner in Civic Cup before, started to ply his craft a little more in Civic Cup last year. But how quick he is, he's still imprinted in the championship and in this paddock, whether it's real or virtual. He'll come to the checkered flag, and it will be, I believe, in the race, because 15 minutes has elapsed, and he even sets the fastest lap of the race on what looks like the final lap of the race. So that just seals it all up in that sense. The line will come the rest of our runners. Jacob Gannon will pick up second place. Third will go to Cunningham. Fourth will go to Summers. Fifth will go to Goward on his first appearance in the championship. Excellent work from him to be that quick in the paddock. In the sim world, P6 is Max Kirk. He's moved up steadily. There's some good progress. Lots more side-by-side battles across the line. To the line. The rest of the field pass and take their checkered flag. So, hairpin. And I have a feeling that we've finished the race, because I'm certain the time we've gone down to 0. Right, the same final lap now. So we'll go with whatever Assetto Corsa is telling us. The timer had hit 0, so that's a little confusing. The sprint down towards Agostini begins again. This is now Kirk versus Peverell. And Justin Kirk, who after that incident before, has managed to slowly climb his way back up to a top 10 finish. And of all the places he would want to be, 8th position is the place, because he should now be able to pick up a strong running. An interesting first race. Yeah, Magnussen. It's Justin Kirk. Jan Magnussen, my mind something to the Formula Ford Festival, but I'll switch focus back to what I should be thinking about, which is this. Yeah, everyone's slowed down on the straight now, so it looks like it is the final lap. The position changes because Justin Kirk is confirmed as being 8th anyway. So it looks like then victory has indeed gone to Jake Hewlett. And it did so. Quite a race in the end. So he'll probably try maybe try Japan again, possibly, but we shall wait and see what the plan for everyone else is going to be. Quite simple. First. What's the line? I think we'll go a couple more for who haven't even seen that Caballida went to. As the session comes to a close. And we wait now for, here they are, the results from race 1. And then are as follows. Remember, the top 8 gets reversed for race 2. So if you finished 8th, you'll start on pole. If you finished from pole, finished first, you'll start from the 4th row of the grid as per the rules of the series. The result of that race, in which there were 1 or 2 little bits of incident going on, it was relatively trouble-free, and Jake Hewlett takes the victory by an impressive 6.7 seconds in the end from the Jacob Gannon HG Civic. The third went to Ryan Cunningham. Fourth went to Dale Summers. Get my words out. Fifth was Dale Summery. Sixth was Sam Howard. And fifth was Sam Gaz. Sixth was Max Kirk. Seventh was Dave Buki. Eighth was Justin Kirk in that race. And Peverell ninth. And running out the top 10 was Ryan Barker. Just trying to figure it out. We're looking at the small part of the screen, but there we are. 11th place for Fraser McNeil. 12th goes to Lewis Kirk. 13th to Bob Barron. So issues of both the Kilsey K-Sops drivers. Circuit that even in real world last year didn't give us give them the greatest of fortunes. The biggest of which was that weekend a few more things to try and sort out. The rest of the order you can see from the 16 runners to part of the race course. We have our 2 media cars which don't take part or even be visible at all. Just getting on with things. A quick turnaround for the teams to do a very quick debrief to see how things have gone so far in this event, if they are talking about it. How the cars felt, how the pit stops felt, everything else in between. And we're ready to get going very shortly as the cars start to form up on the grid. Now remember, it is a partially reverse grid because the top 8 have been reversed for this one. Everyone just lining up ready to go. And it means then that of all the people on the front row, I think, and actually starting in 8th, I think in fact it is actually officially Justin Kirk, who was on that comeback trial. So actually finishing in 8th position and giving himself an opportunity to be able to make the most of it. So we wait patiently with just over 30 seconds to go until the start of race number 2. Remember, it is set to be Justin Kirk on pole position in the EK Civic. So EGs and EKs have had 1 each now. Poles will it be the same for wins. 15 seconds is ready to go. Here come the red lights. You know the drill. All calm and quiet until the VTEC kicks in. It will do in a few moments' time. Red lights come on. The second race of round 1. The ONNA Motorsport Honda Winter Esports Series is ready to get underway when the lights go out and the green flag flies. It does now. It's initially a good sprint off the line from Buki. He now pulls level with Kirk down towards Richie's for the first time. They're jostling for second between Howard and Max Kirk, and Gannon getting back in there as well. There's a little bumping and boring, little tap in the tail from 1 or 2 people. They've got to be unscathed. It's 3 abreast now. That was Summers, Kirk and somebody else. And it's absolute carambolage down at the hairpin. There's 1 or 2 pieces of contact. It's now brought out a 2x2 sequence, but this is now Buki on the right-hand side. Justin Kirk on the left, and Kirk now takes the lead through Palmer. Place for Gannon, 3rd place for Gannon, 4th place for Goward. And the man bringing in an EF Honda Civic into the field this season. Can't wait to see what that looks like. looking down the pit straight for the first. We're down towards Oggies for the first time. He's up and under. He's working possibly for Gannon. He has a little peek up the inside, trying to force Buki offline. His attempts are thus far unsuccessful. He will simply rotate. Okay. Try again later. More side-by-side action. This is now again between Gannon and Buki now. So Buki's now third position, but challenging Gannon. He's now giving Kurt the chance to get away. So what happening earlier on has brought other drivers into this. Now we look at the onboard for a moment there from Ollie Hewitt. So the long right hand of Coram. Again, back down a couple of gears to Murray's. Flick left. Use the inside curve if you need a little bit of leverage or a little bit of style. Putting yourself on two wheels. And nice and steady gear changes up through the box. Second, third, fourth, fifth, even sixth gear. As you continue to head down this, I'm going to say the longest pit straight in one of the longest pit straights, at least in the UK. There's Sam Goward, who has elected to join Racing Hondas this year for 2026. No details yet on exactly what his car will look like or when it may even be ready to go racing. From an admin and from a mechanical point of view. On to Bentley Straight again. Just make the way, always the gaggle of cars mid-pack is going down towards Agostini once again. Lock up. Now Ryan Cunningham keeping pursuit of Lewis Kirk. So, running order at the moment. Justin Kirk leads the way by, I guess, a rather Racing Hondas like advantage of around about 6.5 seconds, which is pretty extraordinary. The Gannon's currently second place. It's then third for Hewlett, fourth for Buki, fifth for Goward, and sixth for Peverell. It's two watches coming off. Anything else? I'll get back to what's actually on the screen in a second here and unjumble myself. There was side-by-side moments there between, I couldn't say exactly who it was, although Ryan Cunningham was just dropped back down to 8, so it might well have been him that was scrapping with Lewis Kirk. As again, a long arcing run all the way through Coram. As it straightens out, flip left. Right, there you go. Up through the gears again. Bridges again. He holds firm in fourth. He's got Howard and Everett battling quite severely against each other in terms of when and how they'll deploy. Towards hairpin. Ball with Peverell staring at the back of Goward's car. Rolls it in. Side here between everyone and Gower. That was going towards the left-hander at Hamilton. And then into Oggies. Still advantage for Peverell, who gets the up and under and the inside line for the next corner. Gower won't give it up that easy. He's going to try and stand his ground. He has to eventually capitulate, let him through. Again another day. The Brooklyn Nelson complex. Everell still holding on to 6th with Goward and Cunningham right behind. Three nose to tail. A little further up ahead, I thought we were going to look at the leader, but look at some further back. But here's that scrap for second. It's actually closer, much closer to second place than it is to the lead, because Kirk has an advantage now of a couple of seconds. Runner-up spot in this race, it's now starting to come alive, because Gannon, when he crossed the line at one point, the time screen's glitched or stopped, so it's actually showing him as being in second or third, but he's not. He's actually just dueling wheel to wheel with, well, it's a monster versus Godzilla, really, in that sense, from the two of them. There's Hewlett versus Gannon. Both know what's at stake here. Both know that a strong result is what's in the offing. I think it might even be wondering at one point if he's feeling restless. That's the more pressure he can apply, as obvious as it sounds, the easier it can be for them to come undone. Out of Brandon Nelson, watching the leaders back through bomb hole. And the back, this is now Hewlett and Gannon out of Williams onto the Bentley straight, in fact. And on the others that go a little further back, Peverell, Goward, and Cunningham practically nose to tail between the three of them. One of the benefit the most, just tell me, is going to be Ed, as in one. So that will be Ryan Cunningham in the mix there as well. Two whiter EG Civics are just about keeping themselves in check with another group they're part of. Into Richie's corner at high speed. Still Kirk from Hewlett, from Gannon, from Buki, from Peverell. That's the top five. We're looking at Ryan Cunningham chasing after fifth position. A bit deeper. I think he's also trying to defend from behind him. Ryan Barker. Like he'd be see if got something in here to try and hold on to. It's the final third of the race now. Should mention that, well, we don't need to look at him, but Justin Kirk has held a 7.5 second lead at this point, so he really has stretched the margin, used the clear air to full advantage, and not get caught up in anybody else's turbulence, and done quite a fine job. Meanwhile, Justin Kirk, in fact, has now found himself in the lead. So actually, it was Kirk who leads now rather than Gannon. I think it was offline from we're looking at a few other instances whilst this race has been going on. We might have missed exactly what happened that saw Alfa Romeo drop down. Him drop down or drop backwards. This is now the battle of the lead. It is now between and Nelson back into the long right hand at the bomb hole, and this never-ending arc once again rears its ugly head. Yes, again, anything other than tight to the inside line is not really acceptable. And case in point, because Jake Hewlett has found the door to be wide open on the middle of the apex for Coram, swept through, taking the lead, and pulled off a move that you don't really see virtually really anyone pull off. Side by side through Coram, making it count. Leaders making their way towards Wilson Hairpin, closing in on the last few moments, last couple of minutes of the race now, so there were 4 minutes to go. Let's get the sense now with Hewlett in front. He's able to really just, these last couple of laps, start to really turn on the same mode he's been in for qualifying. Pushed a little better for Saturday. Now towards Agostini on the fight with Ryan Barker ahead of Lewis. And then Dan Peverell, Summers and McNeil and Barron's dropped an awful long way back as well too. He's back in 15th place and well down on his teammate who is... What has he got to on the timing screen? Into 14th now, dueling with Bob Barron himself. So he's dropped back a bit. So both of the Kilter K-Swaps cars not exactly the highest amount of good fortune right now. They can recenter themselves for the next round, which will come up at Silverstone. Virtual Silverstone, of course. Less than 3 minutes left. Fourth gear. Turning all the way through. It's the awkward flick into Nelson. And back down the long straight once more. The right hand of Williams, or Richie's corner. Can't correct myself. Now down towards Wilson hairpin. We have time here. If Ryan Cunningham wants to get a little further up the field, he has to start making a few more decisions and getting a little bit closer, because look at some of the other drivers that are up there in that top five. The first four I would expect, given how quick they can be. The fifth one that's up there, Matthew Peverell, who has been pretty solid and strong so far this event, has pushed hard. We're just watching our battle for the Oggies. And towards Williams and the Bentley straight. This is now Gannon coming back at Kirk here with a lap and a bit to go. Closing stages. Hewlett again takes full advantage of the clear air, signalling that he is untouchable. Down the back straight towards Nelson once again. Rending right-hander again. And keeping up the pursuit of Justin Kirk as they go on to what will be the final lap of the race. There's only about 35 seconds left on the clock, so next time they come past the post, after this one, it will be race over. Go through the gears again. Fifth gear, 110 miles an hour. Back to Richie's again. Down towards Wilson hairpin with less than a lap to go. And if any movement's going to be made here, one Gannon has to be a little bit closer. She's touching. Careful with that one. The tightness setting in, I think, on my end. So with essentially just over half a lap to go, it looks as though that at the moment out in front, it is pretty sealed for Jake Hewlett, but the fight for second is continuing to be impressive. Towards Williams onto the Bentley straight for what I think should be the last lap. In fact, yes, you can see at the top of the screen. It is on the final lap of the race. Here is El Summers, who is quite far back with Alex Brundell. So heading up towards the back straight for the final time. Looking at Dale Summers here, with Dan Peverell not too far behind him either. This really was a race where a few of the front runners were just struggling in general. Looks like the leader's about to turn through the last corner for the last time. And head to the checkered flag. We keep on watching the cars go through here at Brundle Nelson, but I think as we are on the last lap of the race, we need to see our race winner coming across the line. But here he comes. So after making a solid pass, coming to the checkered flag, it is lights ablaze and lights flashing for Jake Hewlett as he takes victory in race 2 of round 1 of the ONNA Motorsport Honda Winter Esports Series. And that is Hewlett with a strong result from where he was at the beginning of the race. And a lot of what he experienced on top of that too as well. So it's Hewlett the winner. It is Kirk in second, Alan third, Buki fourth, and Matthew Peverell, again, in no man's land, but held firm in sixth. He collected a very strong result. Seventh goes to Max Kirk, eighth Sam Goward, ninth to Ryan Barker, and 10th to Lewis Barker. And the last few cars will come through to take their checkered flag moment, so it'll be Kirk 11th, Barker 11th, June 10th. So race complete, and that is one down in the series. 4 more still to go. And of course, next time out, the series will head its way to Silverstone on the national circuit, which is where Racing Hondas will make their debut at that circuit for the first time ever, because they have never raced at Silverstone. This will change in April when they join back time they have for the meeting and get the 2026 season off and alive and kicking and underway. We're just waiting for the server to show that everyone's truly crossed the line and for the servers to fully register and communicate back that the race is indeed done. We can at least tell you the result on that one anyway. We can see, so it is going to be Jake Hewlett who takes the victory. Again, by quite a margin of over 3 seconds in the end from Justin Kirk in second place, Jacob Gannon in third, Dave Buki fourth, and Matthew Peverell in fifth position. And looking further back, we've got Ryan sixth, Max Cunningham in seventh place, Max Kirk seventh place, forgive me. Sam Goward eighth, Ryan Barker ninth, and Lewis Barker rounding out the top 10. 11th went to Lewis Kirk eventually. Lewis Barker got 10th. Kirk got 11th place. Bob Barron 12th. The rest of the order will come pouring through to take flag as well. So racing complete. One event done. 4 still to go. It's a 5-week series. And still, anything can change, anything can happen. Still drivers we haven't seen just yet in the series that will certainly make their debuts at some point in the round. There's the results again on screen. And it is, of course, a win for Jake Hewlett. Second for Justin Kirk. And then third in the end for Jacob Gannon. Fourth for Dave Buki. Fifth goes to Matthew Peverell. Sixth goes to Ryan Cunningham. Seventh goes to Max Kirk. And Sam Goward, Ryan Barker and Lewis Barker. So the two finished together, but Ryan ahead of Lucas, which is pretty crucial. 11th fastest downwards. 11th in the championship downwards. They might all denote Austin there as well if there is anything. But 11th goes to Lewis Kirk. 12th goes to Dale Summers. 13th goes to Dan Peverell. 14th goes to Bull Baron, I think that says. Sorry, or whatever I say. Sorry, Fraser McNeil, forgive me. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. 6th was for Reece Welsh. 16th. Then just our media team in the background as well. So a couple of the team drivers had some stressful points at that time. So, with racing complete, essentially just about rounds up the broadcast for the first broadcast of the season for this new ONNA Motorsport Honda Winter Esports Series as well. If you have watched, and thank you very much for doing so. Thank you for taking the time to subscribe and let us know what you thought. Do the same also in the YouTube comments as well. And of course, keep any content that we can carry on sharing as much as possible, so that then it feels like it's being useful in that sense. It's going to be interesting to see how this series then plays on as the championship moves to the next round, which is, again, you have to wait 7 more days for the next one to come through. And that's going to be at the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone on the national circuit. Given how close these cars can run together, if the pace is pretty even and good, can be quite a combination that works out quite well. But we have our race winners from races 1 and 2 done already. That's now ticked off in the history books for 2026 for this Winter Esports Series, which has been supported by Captain's Vlog and by, particularly by ONNA Motorsport, the team that's kind of behind some of the cars which this is involved in. So thank you to them for also allowing us to do so too. So with that being said, we are going to sign off from our broadcast. So first of all, thank you very much everyone that has watched. If you haven't yet already, hit the subscribe button, wherever you might be watching for any reason. It does help the algorithm. It does help people watching TV streams more and replay them back. And also, any more information on, obviously, anything to do with anything else, then just get in touch and we'll be able to have a look at that for you. So, before I continue talking nonsensical, I think just being extremely tired, we'll wrap things up here for Snetterton. Thank you for watching once again. Hopefully all is well before the next round, and we only have to wait 7 more days until the racing gets back underway. For the second round on the Silverstone National Circuit, plenty of slipstreams, plenty of long straights. Once again, that should be an absolute riot and plenty of pack racing, all but guaranteed. So until then, take care, and we will see you for more ONNA Motorsport Honda Winter Esports Series action only next week when we go off to the next round at Silverstone National. Until then, I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye for now.